Recording in progress.
It's 5:03, and I'll call our regular November meeting to order. Aaron, would you please call the roll?
Student trustee Kvinsland?
Yes.
Trustee James?
Yes.
Trustee Griffin?
Here.
Trustee Morton?
Present.
Trustee Ohm?
Here.
Trustee Schaefer?
Present. We have nothing to report out of closed session, and we'll move on to approving the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda before we approve it? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
Wait, I was
We're
trying to...
pulling 6.8.
6.8, okay.
I didn't know. Did I?
There we go. So may I have a motion to approve the agenda after we eliminate 6.8?
Also move.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Aaron, would you call the roll?
Student trustee Kvinsland?
Yes.
Trustee James?
Yes.
Trustee Griffin?
Yes.
Trustee Morton?
Yes.
Trustee Ohm?
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer?
Yes. So item 5 is our public hearing sunshine items to be negotiated between CMIS and the district.
All right, so I'm going to start off with the district side of things. We would like to sunshine Article 9, which is working conditions, Article 11, wages, and then job descriptions. And I received a report from Christine Kenton, who is the CMIS president. They would like to sunshine Articles 11 and 14. So 11 is wages, and 14, I believe, is working conditions, but either way, it's Article 14.
Okay. Is there any comment to this public hearing for sunshining these items? Seeing none, close the public hearing. We'll adopt the consent agenda. If someone makes a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
May I just state for the record, one of the stipends in there is for my role as a basketball coach, but is a non-paid stipend. I just wanted to make that clear on the record.
We took note of that.
We
Okay.
took note of that, Emily, that you're volunteering
Okay.
above and beyond.
Just want to put it on the record. Okay.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Aaron, would you call the roll, please?
Student trustee Kvinsland?
Yes.
Trustee James?
Yes.
Trustee Griffin?
Yes.
Trustee Morton?
Yes.
Trustee Ohm?
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer?
Yes. All right, so we move on to reports, and our first report is from our student trustee. Canute, do you have it ready?
Yes, I do have it ready. All right, so this month has definitely been less eventful than the previous report, I'd say. But we have some responses from the ASB, members of ASB, and it's unfortunately not everyone's responses because I only got this out about 2 days ago. But here's some responses. So I asked people the question that I asked last month because I think it's important to have input on this. What would you like the MUSD board to know about district issues? And this person is wondering how the gym construction is going, which kind of relates to the construction that I'll just listen in on and report back to ASB. And then also, this person recommends that we have an earlier start on Wednesday so that kids can get out earlier. So they're voicing that they'd rather have that earlier start so that we could get out earlier. So I'll ask you guys that at the end. So I'm gonna get any feedback. But anyways, we also had an AE week, kind of like informative day, where all the trips advisors came in and had little tables in the hallways, and they kind of discussed what the trips were about, and basically just got people hyped up for the trips. And so I asked ASB what their takeaways were from this day. This person says, I thought it was a good thing. It gave you a lot of information about the A-week trips we'll be going on. And then this other person says, I enjoyed it. I believe we should have had Bay Area sailing on the backpacking trip like last year. And next question I asked, this one's a kind of personal question. What's the best AE Week trip this year? And some of the top picks were the Firefighters Academy, the First Responders Academy, and personally, I did sign up for that one as my first pick, so I'm very hyped for that. And then also, rock climbing was a top pick as well. And then we also got the Ashland, Oregon trip and mountain biking. And then, since we're coming up on Thanksgiving break, I asked ASB, are you excited for the break? So, we have 80% of ASB says, yes, we're excited for the break. We don't have anyone who said that they're not excited for the break. And 20% of people said, gobble, gobble, as a response. So, yeah.
20%, wow.
Yeah, that's a big percent there.
One
And
out
then-
of 5, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And then we kind of have had a recent issue in the girls' bathroom. The water has been too hot, and I know that that's currently being addressed, but there's still 75% of people since 2 days ago that said it was too hot, but I think that's being fixed. That was talked with Tobin, I know. And then kind of addressing sports, I asked people what's going on with their sports, and a lot of people said that the basketball team is kind of annoyed because the lights are off in the gym, and it's kind of just the construction is obstructing basketball practice, which is to be assumed, but that's just the feedback on that. But they definitely are excited for the season, and also, sports report, fall sports have come to a close, and unfortunately, the soccer teams are not moving forward. But on an exciting note, we have Hector from cross country moving to state. What's it called? It's the one before state. Anyways,
Regional championship.
Regional championship, yes. So he's moving on to that on Saturday, so we'll be cheering him on from back here in Mendo.
What's his event?
It's just cross country, running 3.1 miles. Yeah. And then also we have a big event happening in January, which is the Comm School Dance. So I have a report from Zephyr from the Comm School, and here it is. In January, the Comm School will be having a rave/communist-themed dance. It will be open to both commies and high school students. We plan on having local bands and musicians from the high school play, such as DJ Lino and Gaia. We'll look into the K-8 donating the popcorn machine for use at this function. So that is definitely something the student body will be looking forward to. And then, on a fun note, what was your favorite moment from the past month? People said a 3-day weekend. They also said basketball season starting up. Everyone's really happy for basketball. And then also someone says, hang out with Joaquin. So that's a very understandable one. And then on the last note, people asking about what else they'd like to share with the board. Someone mentioned that the toilet paper, they'd appreciate better quality toilet paper. And then also, they said that another person mentioned the earlier dismissal on Wednesday for an earlier start to school on Wednesday for an earlier dismissal. Yeah, so that is the report. Yeah.
Thank you for the snapshot.
Yep, you're welcome.
So
Thanks.
all the home games for basketball are in Fort Bragg?
Yeah, there's no home games at all. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
just in case anybody in the audience is wanting to catch one of our basketball games, plan on going to Fort Bragg.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. Tobin's not here, so I guess we'll pass his report.
Nope, he's on.
I'm online.
Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay,
Can't see you.
there was a one-car non-injury above Heritage House right as I think pulled by. Luckily, it was right by my driveway, so I made it home to get in by Zoom. So it's pretty backed up right now. Let's see. I can clarify there are going to be 3 home games which will be played in Fort Bragg, in addition to our first basketball games in Fort Bragg on Monday the 20th. But yes, Noah's worked really hard to try to get some, closer to home games for us. So following with the basketball theme, it has definitely been a challenge. But I also think everyone, the coaches and players, are all really making it work. And honestly, it's kind of like how it was back in the days when we had 4 teams. We're using the K-8 quite a bit, which means some late practices once the middle school teams are done. But that's how it used to be when we had 4 teams. There'd be a practice going off at 8 o'clock. So it's not altogether unfamiliar territory. So we're doing a good job with it. I will just add on to Canute and AE Week, an exciting list of trips this year, some old favorites. And I just want to make sure that we thank the staff, because AE Week really is a labor of love that wouldn't happen without their dedication to that program, because this takes a lot of energy to put this together. And we have some awesome trips, and the staff is really excited about sharing these experiences with the students. We've been looking, because of the kind of one-time funds for professional development, we've really been pushing that. And I think there's a lot of staff members excited to participate in professional development, which hasn't necessarily happened much over the last 3 years. So that's exciting. And I think that will be a positive thing for staff to get out and be able to have some of those experiences. Phase 2 is progressing well. Just personally seeing the spaces transform. It's at a point where demo has happened and framing is going on. And I think we've created some really usable spaces out of a somewhat awkward existing plan. So I'm really positive and excited about what we're doing there. Lastly, I will end with saying that I really appreciate the efforts. I haven't been able to make to the finance committee meetings, but just seeing the emails and the effort around both from staff and the district communicating with the county around the tax assessments and being proactive on that, I think is excellent leadership. And thank you to all those who are spearheading that, because we can't leave any stones unturned in solving this budget issue that we are confronted with. So I'm assuming that is the goal of that, is to really make sure that we understand and we're getting our fair share and putting pressure on the county to do that. And if nothing else, it's good information to understand how that all works. So thank you to all involved with that. And I'll leave it at that.
Any questions for Tobin? No? Thank you, Tobin.
All right. Thank you.
Turn it over to Jason.
All right. So I was going to mention that too, Tobin, so I'm glad you did. But I think Mark Oatney, Jordan West, and Mark Oatney in particular really needs to be kind of thanked for kind of going above and beyond and meeting with our county leaders and seeing what he can dig up. So Mark and I have been in touch a lot recently about what he's learning, what I've learned, and our hopes and dreams for the future. We had our facilities committee meeting this week. We had really inside look at the gym building, which is just mind-blowing about just what that gym building looks like now and how beautiful it's going to be. I didn't know it. I guess I hadn't really thought about how much it's going to be changed, but it's going to be aesthetically wonderful. There's a lot of empty, dead space in that multi-purpose room that we wish we could use high above. But anyway, it's exciting. We met and we discussed the locker rooms and really talked about, hopefully we'll get a sense of kind of where we are budget-wise, but what we might be able to do with any surplus money in phase 2 after we look at the comm school, of course. That was a good meeting, though. Good to see the inside of that gym building. Since the last meeting, I went to the Mendocino County Soups Conference. It was a 2-day event for Mendocino County Soups in Humboldt County. I raised the question again, because I know that you're always interested, why are we meeting outside of the county? Because we met in Sonoma County and Humboldt County. It's kind of odd. And I said, surely there must be some place in Mendocino County. We meet in the spring in Little River, but I guess inland they don't have any place to go. But the superintendents in the county have similar concerns to us. Chronic absenteeism is probably tops on the list. Every district in this county is dealing with that. And then the low test scores for the math and English language arts for the standardized testing. That was discussed. Mark sent out a pretty interesting post that he found on Facebook that listed all of the districts and the scores. And we do have the highest scores in the county, but they're still not very high. So we talked a lot about why that is and what kind of messaging we can work on for that. Also, there just seems to be a lot of same in our district, teacher fatigue, and kind of it was just a really big topic, low energy and teacher fatigue, and so what we discussed why that is and whether it's just a new generation of teachers, or is it, do we need to look at how we structure our day? Do we need to provide more opportunities for social events for our staff? It's just interesting that there seems to be a lot of teacher absences, and morale is down around the county, even with double-digit raises, so, in other districts. And then I met with the Fort Bragg superintendent today. We try to meet every now and then, and we talked about district of choice, which I'll get into later in the meeting, as well as we talked about this wall that seems to be up in somewhere in Casper, this invisible wall. And then when I first got this job, I thought, well, what is it about Mendocino and Fort Bragg? Like, why are there so many differences, and how can we work closer together? And we both have a common goal to kind of break down that wall and share more resources and have better communication. And so we're doing that by trying to meet more frequently. But it was a good meeting. And I'll just report a little more on how those meetings go throughout the year.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's not it. Oh, and the most exciting part of my report is Amanda. Thank you. Amanda Martin, our Albion school teacher, has a presentation for us. I'm so sorry.
Kind of, it's really informal. Hi, welcome to the Albion School. I think it's been 7 years since you guys have been here.
I think it'll look it's been quite that long, but
Oh, I think it was my first year, this is my 7th year, so maybe 6 years. But welcome, I don't think we've had this many visitors in a long time. So I'm Amanda, this is my 7th year. Before that, I worked at the K for 3 years, and I subbed in the district for about 4 or 5 before that. And Jason didn't know this, but I graduated from Mendocino. I went to high school with Emily, yes. know if you guys saw it, but the kids and I are gonna paint it, and it'll be out there at some point. Maybe we'll have a ribbon cutting ceremony, I'll invite you guys. I've also been in touch with the Humane Society of Fort Bragg to do a collaborative writing project where either they bring us animals or we go on a field trip if I can get funding, and we meet the animals, and then we do like a writing project here. We're working K-8-wide on writing, and so my kids would do like persuasive writing about adopting the animals, and then they would put the writing up by the animals cage. We tried to do it in October, which was Clear the Shelter Month, but they had staffing issues up there at the Humane Society, but that's in the works. I do want to thank you for the generator. It was an absolute game changer last year. I don't know what it is about Albion, but we lose power all the time. I live down the road and I lost it 30 separate times. So we were able to stay open so many days where we wouldn't have been able to before. We even had like 2 power pole installations. So thank you so much for that. I think the community is really appreciative of that too. And the continuity of having the kids in school is huge also.
Is it pretty easy to get started? Or
It's
is it
automatic, I don't have to do
automatic?
anything, it just turns on. Yes, no, seriously, it's been wonderful. It's kind of loud, but the kids are really happy, and the community, thank you. We have Loving Chelsea, the new dance creative art teacher. She comes out twice a month and does dance with the kids, a big hit. I have a little list. That's really all I have on my list. Do you guys have any questions for me? I would like to invite you guys to come out anytime. We don't get visitors very often. The kids were really excited, actually, that I tried to explain to them what a school board is. I'm not sure that they quite understood, but they insisted that we make a video for you. So every week we have a weekly poem. I've been doing it for a couple of years. It's a really fun, engaging way for kids to build like fluency and have fun with language and love reading. So Erin is queuing up a video of some kids reading poems for you.
Other than the generator, do you have any issues with the building? Is everything working well?
This is an amazing building. We have a couple little leaks every now and then. You know, no, not really. Maintenance is really quick and responsive if we have anything.
I love this.
Amanda, if you can let me know of a day that you might want to go, I'll be happy to drive you.
To the Humane Society?
Inside, and we can take the electric
Let's
bus.
do it. Okay,
So it'd be pretty cheap.
I like it.
Yeah,
Well, my sister-in-law is actually the director of the Humane Society, so,
right.
no, let's do it.
So I'm not going to have audio,
Aw.
but I will email the board.
The file, that'd be great.
They're very excited about their poems, as you can see.
My apologies.
Oh, you missed it. They were reading poetry to us. But it was silent.
That's why I look forward to it in your email. But really, if anyone ever wants to come by, hang out, watch me teach, play on the playground, we would love to have you guys. Just send me an email.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. I do want you to know I do try to come on Zoom all the time. I know you've heard, or I've heard that you guys don't think enough teachers come, but since they've gone on Zoom, I'm almost always on there. And if you don't mind, I have been here since 6 o'clock in the morning, and I am going to go home and have some
Yep.
dinner. But thank you so much
For
for
sure.
being here.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.
Well, it's close enough to our public comment time that I'm going to see if there's anybody here who's here for public comment. I've not seen anybody. How about online? Is there anybody who is here for public comment?
Anne Marie?
If you were here to talk about the listservs, we can do that later when we get to that item.
Anne Marie?
Hi, can you hear me? Okay, hi. I heard at one of your board meetings that some grant money was made possible for the Albion Fire Department to get big water storage tanks, which should also help the community and however much people pay for their fire insurance. And I saw the fire department has 3 huge water storage containers. When will they be moved? At least only one of them. And where would it be placed? Would it, is there chances to locate it in such a way that it's the least visually obstructive? So I don't know if you have an answer for that or not.
Was this was Carlin Lamont. He came to one of our board meetings and asked for kind of our permission to seek a grant. And I have not heard anything since, Anne Marie. So I don't know if the grant was received or any details. So I don't know.
I don't know either. Have you reached out to Michael Reese or anyone on Albion Fire?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
No, I just thought that you would maybe do that. My concern is just that it's placed in some way where it's the least visually obstructive. Thank you.
Is there anybody else online who wishes to speak? Thank you, Anne Marie.
I see no one.
All right, we'll go on to bargaining unit reports. Tom, are you here to speak for MTA? No.
Well, Josh was on his way, but he's packed. He's online. So
Okay.
but he's a attendee, so I'm not sure if we can.
So to make him a participant. I think that's what, there we go.
So Josh, I don't know if you can hear me, but are you able to give a report?
Yes, I think I've been given access here for microphone. Can you hear me okay? Okay, thanks. Yeah, that was good timing. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I apologize. I was looking forward to being there. There looks like there was a big accident on Highway 1 and there was a big delay. So what I have for an update on my end, we have a written statement that we'd kind of prepared after our last meeting. And if I could read that. It says, with the understanding that cuts are on our challenging reality, we'd like to respectfully request more transparency regarding the structural modifications that will result from the budget cuts. As stakeholders in this community, being kept in the loop about these changes would greatly assist us in planning accordingly for our students' education. Understanding the adjustments will allow us to offer support where needed and navigate these changes collaboratively. Additionally, we would like to express some frustration regarding the allocation of time during the recent board meetings. While we recognize the importance of addressing various matters, it appears that a significant amount of time has been spent on discussions related to the listserv postings, distracting from the focus of the critical needs of our district. Our collective time could be more efficiently utilized by concentrating on topics directly impacting the quality of education provided to our students. And so we kind of prepared that not, to be combative by any means, but there was some frustration from members that have been tuning in. And like I had mentioned the time before, how much this is kind of weighing on teachers and staff, and it's just kind of this looming cloud that's kind of haunting us. So I just wanted to share from the finance committee, there were a couple of things that came up regarding and you all might know about this, I don't know for sure, but that we know that the county's behind on assessments, but depending on when they get caught up depends on when we see the new rates and the money given to us, which could depend on the 2024-25 year or the 25-26 school year. They've increased the budget and they're adding positions and training to new staff, but something that we realized was that it has to be done by the first of the year in order to affect the next school year, the 2024-25. So there's a lot of worriedness on our end of what that could mean. So per state law, something else that was brought up, that the funds wouldn't be distributed to MUSD, only other agencies. And I'm not sure how that works out, but that's what the finance committee had found out. And so that would apply to the basic aid districts, ourselves, Point Arena, and Manchester. So that was all. We just wanted to add that, and we really appreciate the support, the transparency part, because we're wondering what these will look like, and we know there's no easy answers there, but we know they are going to be big and affect the community largely. So thank you.
Thanks, Josh.
Yes.
Any questions for Josh? No? Okay. Is there anybody from CMUS who would like to speak?
No, but I have a thought or a comment on what he
Yeah.
said. If I mean, it's really hard because, as there are none of these cuts that we are discussing are final. It's all very much a draft. So I'm not sure how that would work at this time because we don't want to scare people and have people looking for a job elsewhere when their position might not be cut. I don't want to hurt morale before it's necessary. I do understand the uncertainty and I'm not being opaque on purpose here. I would like to be transparent. I don't know how that would look though. So I'm open to suggestions, ideas on how we can.
Well, I mean, I think that we've talked about this, that, we have a statutory deadline of March 15th for any layoffs that would happen. And it's our intention to not wait until that last minute, but to actually start talking in February or even January about that as we become more confident that the numbers we're going to be acting on are reliable.
I mean, just this past month, we learned at the Finance Committee that the budget was $100,000 better. And so I would hate to create a panic out there or say that someone's going to lose their job or a position's going to be cut when it might not happen. So it's kind of a fine line. It's a tough line to walk. But I hear you, Josh, and the union, and we'll see what we can do to be more transparent as early as we can.
Yeah, thank you so much. I realize that's a tough balance. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so Christine Kenton from CMUS submitted this report. I would like to formally acknowledge and thank Seal McDonald for writing the grants for the 6 electric EV buses that we will be receiving. We've already received one, and it has been a great addition to the bus barn. Also building the infrastructure for the electric charging stations in each bay. Hopefully this change will help us do our part to combat climate change. Every bit of change can help. Sincerely, Christine Kenton.
Okay. Thanks for those words. We'll start with board trustee reports down at the end. If, Lisa, you had anything that you wanted to talk about?
Yes, thank you. Since I'm new to the area and new to the school board, I thought it was important that I get out and tour the schools. So far I've gone to the high school, and I've gone to the preschool, and I've gone to the K through 8. So it sounds like I can come to Albion anytime I want to. So over the next months, I'll be going to the rest of the schools in the district. This past month in October, I was able to go to the Elk Community Halloween Pizza Party, where both the adults and the kids dressed up, and that was fun for me since I don't get any trick-or-treaters at my house. I got to see all the little kids dressed up, which was fun. And then in December, I'm volunteering with the preschool at the holiday fair in Elk.
Thank you. Emily?
One thing I would like to report on is that we have been speaking in the Finance Committee quite a bit about exactly what our budget situation is. As Josh mentioned, and as we've mentioned at times, it is dire, and there will be cuts coming. And it is something that we as a board have been spending a lot of time addressing in closed session and the Finance Committee to some extent, as far as just studying the budget a little closer and doing a deeper dive. I've started a deeper dive on the property tax issue, and I know Mark Odney and a lot of other folks have been looking at that more closely as well. And I'm hoping to get to the bottom of that, because the more we can know, it's the problem with the budget is there's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of unclear future that we need to try to do our best to understand so that we can make the best decision, so as not to cut either too much or too little. It's not going to be perfect, but we have to do our best. So I appreciate, Josh, what you said and what the teachers reported, and I agree with you, and would love to be as transparent as we can, understanding the balance that Jason was talking about as well, of not wanting to create panic or unnecessary disruption either, about possible things that we don't end up doing, for example. So those are things that are on my mind right now. Other than that, I'm looking forward to go seeing our basketball teams play in Fort Bragg on Monday. The games are at 2, 3:30, and 5 at Fort Bragg High School. So that should be a good time. And I've just started coaching the middle school girls basketball season. We are going to Lakeport tomorrow for a tournament against a lot of big Lake County schools, and on Saturday as well. So that's what's going on for me.
Yeah, thanks. Mark?
I just have a small comment or question. I'm wondering if board meetings could be set up so that we were in more of a semicircle. I'm wondering if that's a problem with the camera or any of that stuff. Just, if we could see each other's faces a little easier.
Or
I'd
maybe
like
a
that.
V or something, so the
Yeah.
camera can still capture us, but we can
Yeah.
see each other.
Right, whatever would work. I just think that would be a small improvement that would.
It's like we're all eating at a big table, all facing one way. Yeah.
Yeah, the Last Supper.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
At all.
That's it.
I agree, 100%. I've thought that myself, and I think some of us discussed it at one point.
We tried it one time, and it was awkward with the kind of furniture we had. But, you know, I'll have to think about whether there's new furniture at the high school that might make that more viable.
I recently subscribed to a news site called Cal Matters, which bills themselves as a nonprofit, nonpartisan state news. And within the first one or two messages I got from them, they spoke about a new state law, Assembly Bill 873, regarding recognizing fake news in school. So I don't know how exactly this is set up, but it supposedly is going to start rolling out next year. I'll just read briefly. Governor Gavin Newsom last month signed Assembly Bill 873, which requires the state to add media literacy to curriculum frameworks for English language arts, science, math, and history, social studies, rolling out gradually beginning next year. So
And I think that we probably already do that.
Right. Well, I'm interested, if we do already, to possibly hear from the various teachers that might be involved in that, because I think it's a crucial topic for our young people to know about.
Yeah, evaluating the source and determining, you know, how reliable or how much trust you can put in it, that type of thing. I'm pretty sure that even though it may not be explicit, that we're doing that, because that's just part of critical thinking. And that's, critical thinking is very much a large part of what all that, you know, curriculum, you know, is doing. You know, training our students to be critical thinkers. And recognizing fake news is part of that.
Yeah, I guess what I'm interested in, and I'd like to know for myself, is how do you apply critical thinking online? 'Cause I'm not actually quite sure myself, besides just trusting my intuition, which is not a very scientific method.
No, I go, and there are sites that are based on debunking, you know, some stuff. Snopes is one of them, you know, that you can go to, and if you've heard something, you say, is that really true? And they've probably heard it too, and then they've probably got a page that's already dedicated to saying, no, it's not true, or it's half true, or something like that, yeah. Okay.
That's all I
Anything
have.
else?
No.
All right. I don't have anything to add, so we'll go on to our information discussion and possible action items. And the first of those is our monthly report from Don Alameda about our construction projects. Did your report get posted online?
I don't think so.
Okay, so would you make sure that we have a digital copy that's put back, you know, into that agenda? It just doesn't, you click on it and nothing happens, and it would be nice to be able to have that as part of the record.
Okay, we can work on that. Yeah. Okay, great. This is a nice campus here. This is really pleasant.
It's your first time here?
This is my first time here, so it's a very nice building and layout. Just an observation. Anyway, phase 2 is kind of more straightforward, more even kill, more boring in some respects, but we like boring when it comes to, you know, boring doesn't cost money. So, and we are, we've expended about 3.4 million of the 11 million on the budget. Most of that wasn't designed, we just started construction. So we're doing fine budget-wise. You'll see in the PowerPoint that we've got changes that amount to about 42,000, and that's out of a contingency of 640,000. So we haven't even spent or dedicated less than 1% of the contingency. So I think we're in pretty good shape to have discussions about doing additional stuff. I mean, you don't want to go whole hog and wild too early, but the phases that really cost money or the big surprises is getting out of the ground. We're pretty much out of the ground. I mean, it was a remodel, but we're doing the rough plumbing and electrical now. So we got through that fairly unscathed, and they've tore out the finishes, and we could see the walls. And yes, we have to do some additional work on seismic shear walls that were not what they were purported to be, but we're coming out pretty unscathed. So I think we've got some wiggle room. And that's aside from the money we got set aside for the community school that's not in this budget. So I think we're doing pretty good in that front. So let me get back into my order here. So like I said, the demolition is pretty well completed. In the buildings, site work, you see trenches and holes on the inside of the fence. Those are starting to get filled in and getting into being put back. Probably the thing that's been the most discussions or figuring out is the kind of the ancillary things that have happened. Like in phase one, we lost water to the wood shop, so now we're bringing water back to the wood shop. We've got the water line to the wood shop, and now the next step is to run the interior lines to the original source. Also, we lost internet. When the tech building went down, we lost internet to the wood shop as well. So we have a temporary internet in there now, and we're going to be bringing fiber down from the main building. And that's probably the biggest change dollar-wise that we've got going so far. So that's all occurring. The tech center, we've made some requests to do some additional electrical and security setup. I haven't got a quote from them on that yet, but I don't expect that to be earth-shattering either. So all in all, I think, we're doing really fine. As far as phase one, we have the inspector back out and signed off the ADA door swings. So what I like to do is now, every school district's a little different. Sometimes districts take notice of completion to the board for a vote. Sometimes it's just a nod. But I think we're at a point we can do a notice of completion for phase one, so we can start closing that out. What that involves is we have the county record it, and that starts the clock ticking for any subs or anybody else making any claims. So once we do that, they've got like 30 days to file any claims. And after that, we can release the retention, and the job's said and done.
So the downspouts are finished? And
The downspouts were being put on today. I've seen them next to the trailer. And the windows are complete, but Mark is working with the manufacturer to see if we can free them up and have them a little bit easier to work. But that's really not a Lathrop issue. And everything else has been completed, so that's why I'm saying that it's probably a good point to be notice completion for phase one, and it's pretty much where I think where we are. We're sitting pretty right now. The other thing that's been going on a little bit is fire alarm going off or going into trouble, and I've got Lathrop's sub coming to look at phase one. And I've had our fire alarm guy out too. Seems like when it rains, we get some issues. And it's mostly around the temporary classrooms that are down the hill. So ultimately, that's going to go away anyway. But fire alarms are always frustrating. So other than that, I think I'm wide open for questions.
Okay. Are there any questions for Don?
When again did the temporaries move out?
We extended to lease another year, and that was a few months ago. It's intended, once we move back into the tech and the gym, then we could release the temps and have them dismantled and moved off.
You could sublet them for a few months to recoup some money.
Yeah. The project is slated to be done with the exception of the emergency generator in, I'd say, April. Technically, it's March, but it'll probably push into April at least. And then they'll come back at the end of the summer when we have a generator that's manufactured, and they'll put that in. But we don't need to hang on to temporary classrooms for the generator work. It's really, April, May, or June is when we'll start dismantling and getting those out. You had a question?
Yeah, so I just had a curiosity about the upper campus. I noticed on the northwest door going out as you're going to the portables, there's some pipes sticking out of the wall that have been they're just sticking out. I was wondering if that's gonna stay like that, or
I have to look at it. There are some. If you go around,
Don, that's where the drinking fountain is going to go. That's down at the portables, right? Isn't that what that is?
that is for a future drinking fountain, but it could be we could take the one from the portable and put there. Yeah. But there's also, if you look up and you go around the building, there's little stub outs of pipe, and that's for future security cameras. That's outside of this contractor's scope of work. So.
all right, thank you.
One last question for me is we authorized ahead of time, a large expenditure for electrical switches and other gear that, I guess we ordered back in July. Is this on schedule, or are we going to have a delay from that?
Yes, I could tell you the mechanical has been delivered. Some of it's in a bonded warehouse, so it's not taking up space.
Mm-hmm.
The electrical I need to check in on, but as far as I know, it's delivered or on schedule as well. But I specifically remember looking at the pay application for mechanical and talking with them about that. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, great, thanks.
Yep.
Nice coming out this way.
Okay.
Thanks.
9.2 is returning to the issue of the listserv. And one of the reasons it's been on the agenda time and again is because we've been deadlocked until we had a new board member. And so, Lisa, without getting you too much into it, I just would like to hear your thoughts in general about the listserv.
Sure, I wrote down some thoughts. As a school board member, my top priority is the welfare of the students, as well as the teachers and administrators. That is my duty. Although I greatly value the community at large, my role here is a guardian of the well-being of the school district. Therefore, I believe that we should turn the listserv over to someone outside the school district who can moderate it. Hate speech of any kind should not be supported, hosted, or permitted by the school district. We don't allow our students to engage in hateful rhetoric or behavior, and continuing the service as it stands directly contradicts our stated standard of behavior. I understand there's a vocal group of community members who want the listserv to continue, but it appears that there's some confusion. What I've heard from the community members is that they don't want to lose the listserv, that it's an important community service, but turning it over to a moderator will not end the listserv, but it'll just make it a more positive experience for the users. The vital information that the public wants will be unchanged.
Okay. I know that several of the people who have been active in terms of wanting to have moderation seem to have changed their mind, or at least in letters that I saw, had changed their mind over recent times. And I know I received one letter from the person who we had been thinking about turning the listserv over, who said he no longer wanted to do it. So I don't know where that leaves us. And I heard, Emily, that you were pursuing other alternatives, and did you want to share that, or?
I don't know that I was pursuing any alternatives. I've heard from community members who are pursuing alternatives, I think is a better way to put it.
Okay, well, your name
I'm
was...
happy to speak,
Okay.
yes. Thank you, Lisa, for your thoughts and for being so thoughtful about it. I agree 100% with everything you said. First of all, we received lots of emails and feedback from the community about how important the listserv is as a community resource, and I fully appreciate that. I read all of those. I hear that, and I've given this a lot of thought with that in mind. And my view is that it doesn't make sense to just terminate the listserv. I don't think that's fair given the community resource it is. But I also don't think it's tenable or sustainable to keep it going as is. And I don't think that the district has the either ability or desire or resources to moderate it and to continue to publicly host it. I don't feel comfortable with it being going on as it is, unmoderated. The toxicity, the hatred that is there, even if it's rare, is not something I think the district should be supporting with its resources. For all the reasons Lisa, I think, said really eloquently. So to me, the alternative, the best alternative is to see if there is a community member or a group of community members or maybe a nonprofit entity, I don't know, who is willing to take it over. And we could transfer it from publicly hosted MCN listserv to a privately owned and operated and moderated listserv that group takes over. Exactly how that happens, I think, is something we could discuss. But that it would be my preference. I think doing something where we provide the community with a warning that this is going to happen, invite people to come forward with their interest or proposal or desire to take it over, and maybe there's a deadline for doing that, and then once it's identified who that group is, or maybe choose among a few groups, go forward and have a period of time to then transition it to those folks. Might make some sense. I don't think it needs to happen tomorrow, but I do want to have it happen sometime soon. I don't want this just to get kicked down the road to another board in the future, which I think has happened in the past, and it keeps coming back. So those are my thoughts at a high level.
So we might as well keep going down the row here.
I agree with the previous two speakers. I think there's a couple of new points about this. First of all, it's not a free speech issue. There is federal law and state law that says that having this kind of speech is not protected by the First Amendment. And I think that's pretty clear. I think our legal advice has made that clear. But that doesn't deal with the issue of who's managing it. I really think that probably there are 5 board members who would like it to continue. And I think the public may have had some confusion about that. I think it's a great benefit to the community, minus the small section that we've talked about. And I think that should be able to be accomplished by someone taking it over, like other listservs have been taken over. Obviously, if someone takes it over, they can choose whether to cancel accounts or not. It's a very small number of people who are creating this problem. I think it has every chance of continuing to be an excellent listserv. But we do need to find somebody who's willing to do that. And I'd rather focus on that right now than what to do if we can't find somebody. I think that would come next. I suggest that we try to find somebody who's on the listserv or whatever who is willing to do it, or a group of people. I think fixing it would be a very easy thing to do. Yes, some people change their email addresses, but if it was made clear what the standards were, like standards that are published for every other listserv and social media website, I think it could be fairly easily accomplished to make it work better.
You finished? Okay. Lynn Spear.
Well, my opinion hasn't changed. I think I counted 26 emails that we got from people that I think understand the listserv, understand how to use it, understand its benefits, understand the small number of people that abuse it, and nonetheless want it to stay. Have no problems with what it is and how it is. Unless I missed something, we got zero communication of people suggesting that we end it. I understand the notion of possibly allowing someone else to moderate it. But honestly, I don't think we need to do that. I think it's just fine as it is. I heard our Josh speaking to questioning why we're talking about this, and I have a similar sentiment. When this first came up, it works. It works well. The people in the community appreciate it, use it, and want it. We are representatives for our community. Why cannot we just listen to what our community has said, which is keep it and leave it alone? Thank you.
I don't think it's any surprise to anybody here that Wind Spirit and I are in agreement about this. And I think that getting involved and turning it over is going to prove to be not as easy as the advocates want. But I also am very respectful of the fact that we rule by a majority vote, and 3 people have clearly indicated a direction they want to go in. I think that I'm kind of curious how it'll work out, but I appreciate, Lisa, you stepping in and knowing you had the deciding vote, being brave enough to go one way or the other. It's not easy. And I respect, your opinion, Emily's opinion, Mark's opinion. And I want to move on from this. I don't want to, be doing this time and again. I'm trying to think, on the one hand, I sort of want to see if there are people who want to speak, but I think I'd rather wait for a second and give one of the 3 of you a chance to make a motion of how to go forward.
In the interim, might I ask if I understood our legal consultation that we are completely fine leaving it how it is?
Yeah, we are not liable for anything that happens on the listserv or as a result of the listserv. And he did encourage us. We are allowed to moderate it. We are allowed to limit hate speech. He listed it for us. But he also acknowledged that can get gray, that can lead to issues. But you're right.
I'd like to add on to that my understanding from reading his opinion is that we could moderate it, and as Jason said, we could leave it the way it is, that we could cancel a few accounts after clearly specifying the rules. That would not be my first choice, but after we try this other thing, perhaps we might consider doing that. I'm not supporting it yet, but that is a possibility. For me, what's absolutely not a possibility is to leave it as is. And I would say it's for the same reason that I feel my job is not to be sure kids learn how to read. That's my second job. My first job is to make sure that people from the ages of 4 to 18 feel safe in an educational environment and are therefore able to learn. And I think that there is a level of safety that even though it's mostly adults, it could be, high school students could join the listserv if they wanted to. That wouldn't be legal compared, looking at our district regulations and policies, but at the moment it's not moderated. So that would be untenable for me to not have it moderated. I think moderation could end up being a few minutes once every 6 months, possibly. But it would be better if somebody else did it. It's clear to me from the legal opinion, once he understood the situation, that we are perfectly able to cancel people's accounts and would not be at risk if we did. And I think there is federal law that directly addresses that. I think we have board policies that are based on state and federal law that directly address that and say, no employees in our district should be disseminating this kind of stuff, that you're not allowed to. It's pretty clear in board policy 4040 and board regulation 4040.
So is one of you ready to make a motion?
I think it might make sense to hear from the public first before we make a motion.
I would like to see, the reason I'm trying to do it the way I'm doing it is that if we have a motion, I'd like to have the comments directed to the motion and not to the whole issue. We've had lots of opportunity for the public to talk about the issue. And I want to give them something concrete in terms of the proposal that the three of you want to move forward with, and talk about that and try to influence our action on that rather than bring the entire subject up. I'm just trying to spend as little time on this as I can.
We're mostly brainstorming here, but my proposal, it's not a motion at the moment, I'm just putting it out there to see if it might be a motion that would have some support, would be to provide until the end of January for anyone who is interested to step forward and indicate their interest to Jason in whatever form they want to do. In writing, preferably, some sort of proposal, who it is and what they plan to do if we were to turn the listserv over to them. And then maybe by the end of March, that transition should happen to somebody or some group of people or some entity that wants to take it over.
Can I possibly make an amendment to your motion to
It's not a motion.
or to idea?
You feel free, we're brainstorming.
To choose two of the three of you to become a subcommittee to look at recommendations and come back to the board, in February with a plan.
Say that again. Are you saying?
Rather than do this en blanc in this kind of situation, if two of you will, work with Jason after he gets these proposals and figure out if there's anything that's viable, and if so, what structure would take, a timeline for it to work, and then present that to the board in February, and, then I think that would be less of a waste of this time.
I think you're right that we should have a motion. I wish that we had sort of figured that out before the meeting instead of trying to compose it right here. But I think we should send a message out to the whole listserv saying, number one, that there are 5 board members who see value in the listserv and would like it to continue. But number two, a majority think not in its current form with the district. Is there somebody who would be willing to take it over? And it will cost this much a month. You can ask everybody for a 25-cent donation, or you can pay it yourself. It's not much money. How much is it?
Or we could waive the fee.
How much?
$11.50 a month.
$11.50 a month.
That's to host a
Listserv.
forum. So anyone could do that, excuse me if you don't.
Yeah.
And they don't need our permission to take, and anyone could say, I'm going to host the Mendo Coast listserv and pay MCN $11.50 a month.
Right.
I guess what are we doing? That's like anyone could do it already.
I'll tell you what we're doing,
Okay.
Wind Spirit.
Yeah.
Anyone could do that. Anyone
Right.
at any moment right now could say, everybody
Right.
come join my new
Right.
listserv. And all of them could go join that new listserv, and it wouldn't be our problem. We could close down the
Right.
listserv tomorrow, right?
Okay.
We could. What we're trying to do is not put people through that.
But you
We're
are.
trying- No, we're not.
Yeah, but
The
you're saying
listserv
we're
won't
going to
change.
stop once one of you all from the community
We will
offers to do this.
transfer it to that person. The whole listserv will
All
go to that
the
person
email addresses will already
seamlessly.
be
It will
there.
continue.
That makes a difference.
It will continue seamlessly under someone else's jurisdiction and control.
How many
And so
people?
I want to do that so that people don't have to go sign up for a new listserv, because obviously some people won't do that.
It's
So
not
let's keep
seamless,
it
though. You're
intact.
transferring it from a public entity to a private entity.
Yeah,
what you're
but
proposing.
from the
Yeah.
user's perspective, it is seamless. It does not change at all.
Maybe. Depends on how the private entity manages it.
Right, but it has to be managed by somebody. I'm not willing to have it not managed.
Understood. Contrary to your constituents' request.
No, I'm not willing to have the district not manage it. If the person who takes it over chooses not to manage it,
Right?
then that's their listserv, and it's not part of us.
I'd also like to speak to what you said earlier, Winspear, and what you just said, which is it's our constituents and their concerns. I agree that everybody in this community is our constituents, and we should absolutely listen to their concerns. And I appreciate that the listserv is a community resource, but it's not a school district resource. I firmly believe that. The school district does not use that for communication. We have ParentServe, Aries, email, text, Facebook, Instagram. All of those ways are ways in which the district communicates with each other. They do not use the listserv. So it's not a district resource or asset that the district is taking advantage of.
I disagree.
We are here for the school district. I fully agree with the MTA, who made a statement that we are spending way too much time on this, which is why I want it gone. I want it dealt with. I appreciate that it's a community resource, and so I want to do that in the most seamless, painless way possible, and I'm happy to waive the monthly fee for anyone who wants to take it over. Okay, so, and I want every user to have a seamless experience where it just continues without them having to even sign up for a new listserv. They don't even have to subscribe to anything new. But I don't think that every time we get 20 letters from somebody, we need to do what they say.
It's well known, and studies have agree that the education of the students serves more than just the students and their parents. So to suggest that because users are not immediately either involved as parents or students means it's not our business, I disagree with. Because I believe that whether a member of this community is directly involved as a parent or student, they are nonetheless involved in our school district, and what we do affects them, be it today, tomorrow, or in the future.
But there's
So I
no
hear your
nexus
perspective.
between their concern and the schooling and the education. The only reason the listserv is under our purview is because of the sort of historical anomaly of us owning an internet service provider that decided to create a listserv
Right.
a long time ago.
Understood.
So that doesn't make it a school district issue or concern. It's just, it is, and we need to deal with it.
In a way, I agree and disagree with both of you. And I want to make another comment, which is that I believe in the district connection to the community through having an ISP. I think that's been a wonderful thing for this community and a wonderful thing for this school district. And I think promoting a listserv that's about community announcements, whether it's a mountain lion on K Road or somebody has something for sale or something to give away, or all kinds of other things that are helpful to the community is a great thing. But I think about a kid coming to school and getting bullied. And I think about what any parent in the community would do in that situation. They'd call the teacher or they'd call the principal. And if the teacher or the principal said, but you can just ignore them, they'd be really angry. Almost or all of those parents would not like that as a solution. And yes, in some ways we have a cutoff at age 18. I don't have that cutoff. I think that's true for everyone in this community. You don't just say, just ignore it to hate speech. It's really damaging this country right now. It's damaging our politics in a massive way. And this is one little thing we can do to help that be a little bit better. That's really important to me. And I think it's really important to almost everybody, particularly if they think about it with their kids, but I think for adults too.
Can I urge you to get back onto the topic at hand?
Yes.
We need to move forward. And I think it's incumbent upon one of the three of you to come up with a motion to articulate that.
I move that we create a committee to come up with a letter to send out to the people on the listserv asking for somebody to take it over because it's not working in its current, for a majority of the board, it's not working in its current configuration.
Do you want to put some timelines on that motion?
That the committee would create that letter in the next month. And send it out and have a deadline of 2 months after that for it to be transferred.
Can I just,
Yeah, please amend.
no, can I just speak to it without amending it? Or-
Yes.
Okay, I don't know my Robert's Rules of Order. Could we just instruct Jason to send that letter? Do we need a committee? I don't want a committee things to death. It's just a processing. Could we just say, Jason, can you send out a letter and give a deadline,
I
within
think
the next
it's
month?
more our job than Jason's job.
Why?
Because we're the one who created this mess. That's not in his job description, it's in our job description.
How did we create the mess?
Well, I mean, the mess is in terms of dealing with this and making it, a board issue, which we've been doing for a while, not for the first time, but we've been talking about this since June.
Yeah, I guess I just
think Michael's
feel
point
like
is
our
what's the
view is
letter?
to give instruction and then have that be
You know,
done.
I-
I don't feel like we need to write the letter. It doesn't seem like a
I
board.
I don't,
agree with
but the thing is, we've asked Jason a couple times for his opinion, which has changed at different times.
Actually, we haven't tonight, so maybe we should do that too.
And I just don't think, I just think it's something that we've taken on and we should finish. I think, that's why I think the board should write the letter if that's the will of the board, I mean, I guess, the three of you have established a clear priority of how to proceed, but it seems to be difficult to actually put it into a motion, and that surprises me.
I agree with Emily because it's an administrative act, and it is managing the school district, and the five of us, in the way that I'm talking about, don't manage the school district. We direct executives. We are not executives. We're not employees. We're not professionals. Some of us were, but none of us in our current role are professionals. We're director. I mean, we direct an administrator who directs other administrators and teachers and janitors.
So I'm happy to present an amended motion, but Jason, do you want to speak before you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I can. I think that, my position was pretty strong at the beginning. As you know, I kind of went back to, well, I don't know. I might swing back a little bit the other way again, because a really telling moment for me was when somebody who was interested in taking the listserv over didn't want to do it because they feared safety. I mean, come on, what are we doing here? The fact that people don't want to take it over because they fear for their safety? Is this the kind of community that we want to live in? And that's the platform that we've given. That's the platform that we are providing, an unsafe platform. And so, again, I'm going to go back to my original position, and that is, this is all tied to the school district. All of this stuff, all of this trouble, it's not a good look for our community. It's really not. If you're new to this community and you get on the listserv and you see this, I'd probably want to move. If this is what this community is bickering at each other and calling each other, names and it's just, I get it that there's only like 5 of them that are doing it, but man, it's a bummer. It's not something that I'm going to die on up here, though. So whatever is decided, I'm willing to do either way. This is not an issue that I'm not going to die on this issue. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, but I mean, I guess I was trying to.
But I'm happy to write a letter if that's
You're
what I'm
happy
asking.
to write the letter?
Oh,
Okay.
sure, yes. That's all you were asking me?
That's all I was asking.
I was asking you all of it, so
That's what
I wanted to
was
hear
asking.
everything.
And I didn't want to put the burden on you. You're saying that you're happy to write the letter.
I am
Okay.
happy to write a letter.
All right.
Okay, can I amend my motion?
Yeah, go ahead.
No one got it. You didn't get a
We
second.
don't have
You
it
didn't
clear.
Oh, I
a
didn't get a
second.
second.
It hasn't been seconded yet, so you can do anything you want with it.
Okay, I withdraw it.
Do you want me to make a motion, Mark?
Sure.
Or would you like to?
No, go ahead.
I'll try. I move that we instruct Jason to, before the next board meeting, write and send out a letter and make sure it is published on the listserv, inviting people, explaining that the district no longer intends to publicly host the discussion and announce listservs, and inviting any person or group of people to come forward within 60 days of the date of the letter to Jason if they have interest in doing so.
I'll second that.
Can I propose an amendment? And that is that these documents that are created, these proposals or whatever, are referred to a subcommittee of the board, that the two of the three of you get to be on, and it doesn't come back to the board until you've vetted a proposal that you think will work?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
All right.
So do
Okay.
we get to hear it from the public now?
No, we are. So we have a motion on the floor. Has it been seconded?
Yeah,
Did you accept the amendment?
I,
Okay.
yeah, I accept the amendment.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak on it? You don't want to speak? You're okay. Is there anybody online who wishes to speak to the motion that the board is about to vote on?
Anne Marie?
Good evening. Thank you for considering all this. I want to specifically speak to Lisa James and Emily Griffin that actually the board priorities list develop and expand community partnership and communication and increased learning and achievement for all students, families, and staff. And on the MCN webpage, it clearly states that the mission is to provide high-quality personal internet services to our school district, our customers, and the communities that we serve. And MCN has done that for 29 years. There are 2,400 people who are signed up with the announce list. There are 500 people signed up with the discussion list. That used to be higher, but it really became too toxic. As was mentioned, there are only 3 people who have issues. One person doesn't even live around here. And I am not in favor of censoring. I saw what happened, and I shared that with you with the 4th and 5th district supervisors webpage, which was censored, where people were banned from the site not because of the language they used, but because of the topics they were writing about. And it's easy to say that somebody is having conspiracy theories just because it's not the theory that the mass media wants us to know. It's maybe not a conspiracy theory. Maybe down the road we realize that there is some merit to this. And so my feeling about having somebody take over and monitor, I think many people in this community who have been a part of MCN for 29 years and are not too happy about it. And you, in those letters that WinSpirit mentioned, I'm sure you also got a letter from David Gurney, who was saying with a little tweak, he would be okay with that. And he was one of the people who brought it to your attention, first of all. And, like Frank Hartzell, Marco McLean, the AVA, they keep using this list and then turning it into bigger news somewhere at the Mendocino Voice or at the AVA or somewhere else. So I'm concerned that at the time where civics is not taught anymore in the schools, that having a discourse with our neighbors that is not censored is a very valuable democratic tool. Winspirit mentioned that, we're going to be teaching in the schools, maybe even more so with that mandate from the governor, how to see what is fake news and what's not fake news. And it is hard these days to, determine that. So I understand why I understand why certain board members would not want to be connected to that list anymore. And I hope that, if that's what's going to happen, that somebody does it by rather informing people to get off the list than censoring and monitoring what topics are okay or not okay to talk about. So I want to give those people on the subcommittee that tool to, look at that clearly. Thank you.
There's someone in the audience. Would you identify yourself, please, and come up?
Yeah, hello. My name's John Gallo, and I grew up on the coast here. I love the place, and been a long-time list member. Love it as well. I moved back here in 2014, and I thought it was a great resource. Not only the announced list, but also the discussion list was really vibrant. A lot was done there, and it's obviously degraded a lot in recent years, but it has potential of recovering that glory and even being great. But I would agree with what the caller just said, what Anne-Marie Weibel just said, is that we're playing with fire here, and if you want it gone, if you just, if the group that comes forward is a group that is going to want to kind of co-opt the list for their particular agenda and worldview and censor for what they view as real news versus fake news, I think that's worse than shutting it down and letting someone start it from scratch. I think that a simple way to address this would be to put some real thought into what goes in that letter that goes out and say, we have the power to just shut it down, and if we get a suitable application and we can really work with these people and they show that they meet what we think are fair terms, then yeah, we'll hand over the whole list. But otherwise, we don't have to do that. I think you should just don't play all your cards. I mean, I think that you've got an amazing resource here, and I think that having it become moderated, but done done poorly, I think is worse than any of the other three options on the table. I think it's worse than leaving it as is, and I think it's worse than shutting it down. It could be. So that's the topic in a nutshell, and you may want to consider, I don't think you need to do any motions or amendments. I think all this could be done by staff in discussions with board, but maybe you need amendments for it. But you may want to just consider having some community discussions, with the subcommittee in kind of forming what are the fundamental principles like that. Anne-Marie just mentioned one, which is, no censoring based on content. You're censoring based on hate speech or whatever. Are there other things, like some nice to haves or some important things, it would be nice if the moderation was transparent. It would be nice to know if it was decided that something went against the terms, you would at least get to know why, or, things like that. I think there's some rich ideas that are out there. And then I'll close just by saying, I really commend all of you for all the time you're putting into the school district and to this community, and for not just dropping this when it first came up, recognizing the value of this and going through all this struggle. So thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is there anyone else online who wishes to speak?
David?
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, I'm really sorry that this is kind of taking up so much of your time, and I didn't ask to be part of this controversy. over 4 years ago, I found myself the target of a neo-Nazi who made it his expressed written purpose to quote unquote destroy me. And he did a pretty good job over the first period. I kind of teased him back, and I ended up getting a death threat and a small assault. So I had to get a restraining order, which went on for 3 years. And I didn't answer his libel and his really crass, not just insults, but flat out libel. And I've already presented those to you. I mean, it's hard for any of you to imagine the kind of ordeal and the kind of stress this puts on a person's life, unless you actually went through the experience. So for someone to get up there on your board and say that the listserv is working fine is absolutely 100% absurd. You wouldn't be spending so much time on this if everything was going on fine. That's for sure. Now, I heard Jason say something interesting, that they've come out with a legal opinion about whether or not you can ban certain people. And to me, I've said this all along. All along, I've said this. You can add a few things to your terms of service, like no doxing, no personal attacks or libel, no illegal sales, no threats, which all this stuff, well, everything but the illegal sales has gone on the listserv. No threats, death threats, or legal threats, and no hate speech. I mean, what is that, 5 things? You set up, and if people, I mean, you already said in the legal opinion that you can moderate it, and you could ban people that violate your rules, period, just like any other thing. And furthermore, I think that having the listservs under the umbrella of a public entity like a school district is a really positive thing, not something you should be afraid of. So that's what that's what I was going to suggest tonight, is that you get legal counsel on whether or not you actually can moderate your listserv legally as a public entity. And apparently you can. So it's not rocket science. You just set up a few rules. If someone violates them, give them a warning. You do it again, out. That's it. So that's all I got to say. And again, I'm really sorry that one person. One other parameter you could add is you have to be a resident of Mendocino County. Period. That way you get rid of out of area trolls that have been harassing people. So like I say, it's not rocket science. You just set up a few more rules, and if people, just like in your school, if someone violates the rules, you give them a warning. If they do it again, they're suspended. Okay. Anyways, okay, thanks.
So anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak on this? Is there anyone else online who wishes to speak?
I see no one.
All right, so we're going to call it to a vote. Would you please call the roll, Aaron?
Student trustee Kvinsland?
Yes.
Trustee James?
Yes.
Trustee Griffin?
Yes.
Trustee Morton?
Yes.
Trustee Ohm?
No.
Trustee Schaefer?
No? All right, we'll move on to the next item, which is the approval of out-of-state AE Week trips, as well as trips that create adverse risk scenarios. And we have a copy of the brochure. Do you want to talk about which trips we're actually talking about here? Rock climbing, mountain biking? Is First Responder Academy considered a risk potential?
No.
Let's see. Out of state is Ashland, Oregon's Shakespeare Festival. College tours potentially could be out of state. Do we know how that's organized
They
at this
don't
point?
typically go out of state. I don't know if Tobin has more information about that one, but I would consider the rock climbing, the mountain biking probably is on that list. I don't have that list from our insurance company,
Right,
but
right.
I'm assuming those two, and then
Blacksmithing. No, I'm serious. I think blacksmithing
Is that
is
an
probably,
adverse risk?
is you're dealing with high temperatures. I would say
It's a
that's,
controlled environment.
Yeah, it's a controlled environment. I want to approve them all. I'm just saying that I think
Yeah.
that we have to be,
Well,
Yeah, as
but
far
it's
as-
Be clear what-
it's a lump motion, whether we know which ones they are or not.
I guess,
I mean, it's a pleasant discussion.
right,
Yeah.
okay. Any comments from anybody?
This is a question. Do we do the same thing for, like, I mean, we don't do football anymore, but football and baseball and, I mean, I dealt with somebody getting hit with a bat once. I mean, how do you
We've
weigh
had
'em?
students break their back in football.
Do we approve that
They
they're adverse
sign-
risk?
They do sign athletic permission forms, and,
Yeah,
They do?
yes,
yeah.
Did it mention that?
I believe so.
Do you have a potential for high risk here? Yeah, I mean, I think that I certainly believe that part of growing up is learning your own risk tolerance. And you don't do that if you don't take any risks.
Right.
You do that by going out in a supportive environment and seeing, what you like and what you're good at.
I'll move to approve 9.3.
Second?
Any more discussion? Doesn't seem like it? Okay, so can Aaron call the roll on that?
Student trustee Quinlan,
Yes.
trustee James,
Yes.
trustee Griffin,
Yes,
trustee Morton,
Yes.
trustee Yom,
Yes.
trustee Schaefer.
Yes. All right, 9.4 is the instructional calendar. And Jason, do you have a couple changes here?
Yeah, just one change. So I recently learned that we only needed to have one storm day on the instructional calendar instead of two. So instead of having February 22nd and 23rd as possible storm days, I'd like to just have February 23rd as the one storm day. So we need to make this change so staff and families can plan a vacation at least until Thursday. Unfortunately, we won't know if we need to use that storm day until, the Friday before the break. So next year's calendar, we are planning to have a storm day during their regular week. So this will only be a one-time thing. So I am proposing that we eliminate a storm day on Thursday, February 22nd.
So if we have storm days that exceed the one and they're after February, we just add days in June the way we've done it?
No, then we can get a waiver.
Oh, we can get a waiver?
Yeah, we can get a waiver if we've used our storm days or if it happens after our storm day.
But why don't we, so next year, why don't we make our storm days be in,
October?
yeah.
That was.
If that's that simple.
It's not, I think it's frowned upon.
Creative, though.
I did propose that though to the superintendents, but
No one said they were doing
I
that.
don't know.
Okay,
I move to approve the
I mean,
revised
it's
calendar.
likely, we get some of our worst weather in March.
Yeah.
indeed.
So, it's not out of the question.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Aaron, would you please call the roll?
Student trustee Quinlan,
Yes.
trustee James,
Yes.
trustee Griffin,
Yes,
trustee Morton,
Yes.
trustee Yom,
Yes.
trustee Schaefer.
Yes. All right, we move on to 9.5, which is the interdistrict transfer report.
So this is an annual report that I send to all of our adjacent school districts, as well as the Department of Finance and CDE. So we have 42 students participating in the District of Choice program. We have 40 from Fort Bragg and 2 from Anderson Valley. I met with the superintendent, like I said, today to discuss the number for this coming year for 24-25, and we're going to keep it at 50. We aren't really accepting new District of Choice students except for siblings of current students in the program. And if we have a current student who's been attending our district for at least 3 years, they move to Fort Bragg, then Fort Bragg has agreed to sign off on those as well. So, as of this report, now we're at 41 because we did have a student move to Fort Bragg and they filled out a form. So, those are the only students that we are accepting right now because of our budget cuts.
Does he have numbers for the number of Mendocino district students at Fort Bragg?
It's about exactly the same, but I think they're at 39.
39.
So it's a wash.
And of course,
But
for
they get a
them,
lot more money.
they get 100%.
They get 39 times, it's got to be around 15, 17,000.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. And,
we get 25%.
right.
You can see here, there's 4 English learners coming in and 4 students with disabilities. Most of them, I gave these numbers last year, most of them are at the high school grade levels. So,
Okay.
doesn't need a,
Doesn't need
oh,
a
no,
vote?
doesn't need a, I said, yeah, maybe it does.
All right. Someone make a motion to accept and approve the inter-district transfer report?
I so move.
A second. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. I think we'll give that one to Emily. All those in favor? Oh, wait a minute. We have to do that by roll call now,
You
right?
stepped back a couple years there.
Yeah, yeah.
Student trustee Kvinzland,
Yes.
trustee James,
Yes.
trustee Griffin,
Yes.
trustee Morton.
Yes.
Trustee Ohm,
Yes.
trustee Schaefer.
Yes. All right, so we're up to 9.6. Do you want to do these individually, or do you want to do these?
Maybe I'll just see if anybody has any questions. Really, like I said, well, I'll just do a quick summary, I guess. For 3315, relations with vendors, this is a requirement for our cafeteria program. And then along with that, 9.6.4, the acceptance of gifts by employees. We decided to, that wasn't absolutely necessary, but we wanted to make that district-wide about accepting gifts from vendors and policy around that. And then the food service, child nutrition program, and the free and reduced lunch price meals, those are updated since, I think, 2006. One of them wasn't updated since 2006. The other one was 2010. So you saw in the email that much of the middle two of the ones that were updated since 2006 are new. So, I mean, just way different policies, but all in line with what is currently happening.
And that's because we've gone to universal
Right.
lunch.
Right.
And the first and the fourth are both new?
Yeah, brand new.
Did anybody read them over and have questions?
I had one question.
Mm-hmm.
On the free and reduced meals,
Which one are we talking about?
board policy 3553.
Yep.
The second paragraph says, "The district will provide free of charge a nutritionally adequate breakfast and lunch for any student who requests a meal." And then down towards the bottom, number 2, it talks about identifying students who are eligible. So does any student get the meal free, or do they have to be eligible?
Well, all students get it, but we are provided with a certification from the state for all students who are eligible for other low-income programs. So we do get a list from the state for families who are taking advantage of state assistance.
Okay.
So that's what that's referring to,
I
probably.
see.
That confidentiality has to remain for those students.
Okay, thank you.
So for instance, our after-school program that we offer, that is only free for those students. So that's how we use those lists.
Okay.
Any other questions? You can probably have one motion to approve all 4 of these as a first reading, and then we'll come back on the consent agenda next meeting.
I so move.
Second?
Second.
Second from Winspirit.
Student trustee Kvinzland,
Yes.
trustee James,
Yes.
trustee Griffin,
Yes.
trustee Morton.
Yes.
Trustee Ohm,
Yes.
trustee Schaefer.
Yes. All right. Are there things that, what we have here as item 10 are things that are in our recurring calendar for December? Are there things that we want to be talking about? I mean, obviously, there are things that we're also going to be doing in September. It's the time of year where we reorganize and select new officers.
We were talking about meeting at the high school more. Didn't we discuss that?
We did discuss that.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, parking's an issue, but other than that, I think we should meet up there. I think it's a nice space, and we could try to coordinate the room so we're looking at each other. See what we have. It's a smaller space for sure.
Usually isn't an issue.
What's that?
The attendee.
Right.
Right.
The screen is nice up there.
Yeah.
I think nice new space.
Well, do
Let's
you want to
go.
plan on that? Do you want to go to the high school?
I think so.
Okay, I'm in favor of that. All right, so we're adjourned.
What is Board Bylaw 9270?
That's the reorganization.
Oh.
We'll adjourn to our next meeting, December 14th at the high school. Thank you all.